Before we start this episode, we'd like to give a content warning. This episode has conversation regarding domestic abuse and domestic violence.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is your sister, your friend, your neighborhood, maybe sis, Adar, and you're listening to the Digital Sisterhood podcast. So this episode is really different for you guys. It's very different. It's not just a story. Today we have a few sisters in the studio. Today we have a few sisters in the studio. Can I get some little noise? Can we get some noise? I'm super excited to have Nisa Homes here with us. For those who do not know who Nisa Homes is, it is a home for women and children for domestic violence and homelessness across Canada, who are doing incredible work. And before we talk about more in detail, I did want to do a little bit of an intro for all of you. So inshallah, I know Yasmin is on my right. Do you want to introduce yourself, inshallah, with everybody?
Sure. So my name is Yasmin, and I'm the program director at Nisa Homes. Mm-hmm. I'm a mom of two. I've been with Nisa Homes for almost 8 years now. And yeah, I've just always wanted to work in the Muslim community and in supporting women specifically. Mm-hmm. Just from, witnessing a lot of what I grew up with in terms of, family, friends, experiencing abuse and all of that. So it's always been something that since high school, I've been dealing with domestic violence, unfortunately. So it's always been something I've been passionate about. I'm completing my Master's of Social Work right now.
Mashallah. Tabarakallah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We love
that's me.
We love to have Muslims in the game, trying to make the world a better place, because that's important. That's important to us, But next up we have
Sobia.
Ooh.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sobia, and I am a mom of three, alhamdulillah. Actually, older kids, so a lot of people mix us up as siblings, which is a flattery, alhamdulillah. I don't complain. But by profession, I am a product marketing manager, and by soul, I am an entrepreneur and writer. I love to just express myself in different ways, and I'm huge on marketing communications and whatnot. Words are my favorite thing. And just last year, actually, I went back to school. Actually, not even back to school. I went to school for the first time in the sense that earlier I didn't get a chance to finish my high school, and through serendipitous experiences and opportunities and from Allah, of course, I had an opportunity to finish or start my postgrad and complete it last year.
Oh, mashallah.
Despite, the circumstances. So it felt really, really good. Actually, just this time around last year, as when I graduated, and now I work with Launch Good.
Look at you, sis. Girl, stocks there. We love them. We love our sister doing things. We love it. Next up, we have
Rina.
Rina, tell me about yourself.
So my role at Nisa Homes is of the mental health lead. I've been with Nisa Homes for about 7 years now. I think I came right after Yasmin. And so what I do there is basically I make sure that our homes are equipped with best practices in mental health, because I want to make sure that the women and children that come in are ready to be integrated back into the world, and that we give them the best type of care that, people get in the mainstream services. So my entire goal is to bring that to the Muslim space. In my spare time, or actually in what takes up my entire time, is I'm a mother of three as well, older children. And my other profession is that I am a registered psychotherapist.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Incredible. That's incredible. Oh, we got a mental health lead. This is the first time we've ever had somebody here who specializes in mental health. So I'm very excited to hear from you. I have so many questions for you, mashallah, but I'm so glad to have you here. We have next up
Batul. And also a mother of three. Looks like this was the criteria. I'm qualified. So yeah, my children are also grown-ups, 2 girls and a boy, and I'm a kindergarten teacher. And I also went back to college 2 years ago to finish my Montessori education. Previously, I did my bachelor's in education psychology and literature.
Wow,
so but it was I didn't study in Canada, so I wanted to do something here And I was fortunate enough to go back to college to learn Montessori early years.
Wow, mashallah. So in conclusion, we got intelligent women in the room, okay? Basically, who are getting their education. They're here to spit some real today. And I'm excited to talk about what our topic is today. Just to give some background. So today we're going to be talking about a very, very important topic. A very topic that's not really talked about enough, I would say, especially within the Muslim community. And so today I'm really, really excited to dive into that, all raw and real. You know, we're going to keep it raw and real today. The topic today, inshallah, is about domestic violence and homelessness. And I'm excited to have Nisa Homes kind of lead this, inshallah. And we also have two, I like what we're going to call you guys thrivers, right? We're thrivers. Do you want to, Sophia and Batul, do you want to tell us what thrivers are? Why are we calling you guys thrivers?
I think thrivers are... You can call us thrivers because we are not just survivors. We survived and we kept going. And we kept healing and learning. And also now, I think for me, I can speak for myself that I'm ready to help others who might need some guidance, because I would have really appreciated when I was going through stuff that if I had some kind of guidance, or just maybe just someone to speak to, someone to share with what I was going through, someone to validate my feelings, I would have really appreciated it, and it would have really helped. So I want to be there for people. That's why I call myself a thriver, because I am ready to give back to community now.
Amazing. Oh my God, that's incredible to hear from you, mashallah. And I love that. And I find that very inspirational. So thank you. I'm super excited to hear from you, Batul, inshallah. But Sylvia, tell me why thriver?
I think the analogy that I use, or that I resonate with, is the phoenix that rises from the ashes.
Ooh.
And
Wow. That's beautiful.
That gave me a picture.
Exactly, right? And it soars, despite the circumstances that it might have experienced, right? And so to me, thriver is a lot more than just the word itself, but everything, like the foundation that built you up to where you are now. And remembering, there was a moment where I didn't have the pieces to know what the next steps were. And alhamdulillah, having gone through that journey for over the years, and healing and growth and learning, there's a point where you're just flying. And now you're in a place where I feel like, I almost feel like a responsibility in some sorts for myself, that I'd like to give back and be able to help those other sisters who might have been in that point of feeling like, what's next, and feeling like you're left in the dark, and provide some light, inshallah. So,
absolutely. Oh, and you're already beaming, by the way. You're already bringing as much light as you can. I love it. I wanted to start with icebreakers, but I did jump into the thrivers. But question for everyone: what is something that makes your heart smile?
Beyond what they just said, right? I just wanted to backtrack a little bit, right? This is why Nisa Homes exists. Yeah. When we hear these stories, right? This is why I exist at Nisa Homes, is to give this space so that we can have these thrivers. So this has made me smile like huge. You guys can't see it, but it's,
Absolutely.
And I'm going to add on to that too and say that at Nisa Homes, I think the best part, what makes my heart smile, is when I see women that have come to Nisa Homes and then they come back and give back. They are donating back. They are volunteering back. They're working with us now, or hiring other people in their businesses. Like, I feel like that is like that full circle. Like, it's even beyond that circle, but that you have to be in a place where you're able to give back to and just to see their whole journey, being there to see that. Like, I feel like it's like seeing my kids grow up. It really is like that. This whole conversation. That's
what integration is, right? When we talk about integration, we don't mean just take you and house you and okay, that's it. This is integration, successful integration. So
absolutely.
So beyond this, beyond this, I mean, what makes me smile is just right now in life is just pretending to plan a vacation.
I love that. Here. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've had a long winter, right?
Yeah, we had a very long winter. A very long 2 years of COVID.
Oh, yes.
It's been
I would go with that one.
It feels like an extended winter. It feels like. Alhamdulillah, we're almost out of it. Alhamdulillah. it also reminds me of, you made real change when, for example, a teacher who's taught a student and they come back and they come, even after they've passed, they come back, and that's how you know you've had a real positive effect, as they always return. And so that's really beautiful. If you could have a dua instantly answered right now, what would it be?
There's too many.
One, if you get one right now that could be answered, what would you ask?
For me, the safest dua is to be successful in this world and the hereafter, and it just encompasses everything. Mm-hmm. So I just, success in the sense that for me, I think to see my children not suffer from what they went through. I mean, when you grow up in a household of abuse and see your mom suffering, and then you grow up in a certain way, and because then you go and you face the community, and you have to raise your own children, and you take that baggage with you. For me, I feel that I just want that to be okay for my children. I want that I didn't want my children to take anything with them and be themselves free of anything that they went through.
Absolutely. I think that's what, as parents, we could all want for our children, is that they're free from any trauma or fear or like anything that might affect their life, their future. That's what my mom tells me every day, That's what she's afraid of the most for me. But yeah, absolutely.
I know for me is, at this point in my life, like I have these huge, they call it the BHAG, right? The big, hairy, audacious goals. And amongst that is to be able to create some form of space through art therapy and creativity and healing. And it's a really big image that I have, and I make dua that, Allah facilitates it. I know it's going to be a long journey, but I'm ready to commit this next leg of my life and my chapter to be able to really dedicate to growing that, even if it takes 20 years to do it. Mm-hmm. So I just make dua that Allah connects me with the right people at the right time, right place, and facilitate that. I'd love to be able to leave that behind.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Inshallah.
That's beautiful. For me, I think it's contentment. I just want that in whatever. Right? Sometimes we have these du'as, may Allah give me that, may Allah give me that. And that's fine too. It's our Lord. We can ask Him for anything. But I want to be content even with the things that He doesn't decide to give me. Right? And as we have older children, right? We have these goals and hopes and dreams. But then they're going to choose their path as well. So my dua right now in life, in this stage of the game, is just give me that peace and contentment in my heart, wherever you have decided to put me.
I really resonate with that right now. At 29, is that accepting where I'm at. Accepting where I'm at, it's hard because I think a lot of people have expectations of where you need to be in life. You can imagine leaving your 20s. Bro, all I'm about it is you should have been married with 4 kids by now, And so it can sometimes feel like a letdown, to others, but I just want to be okay with where I'm at and accept that, So I want contentment as well. It's always what I ask for. I said, just be content with whatever Allah decrees for me right now at this moment, instead of just living in a waiting room and feeling like, why haven't they called me up yet? That's how it kind of feels like metaphorically to me. I feel like I'm in this massive waiting room waiting to be called up, and I'm not being called. But you see people in front of you being called. Yeah. And it could be a really awkward place to be in because you start to think about what's wrong with me and stuff. But
why am I still waiting?
Yeah, why am I still waiting? Yeah. It could be like rizq, it could be about anything. It could be about children, It could feel like a waiting room. But, true peace is contentment. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts Allah can give any believer. Yeah, it's contentment. Yeah. Because that's what tawakkul feels like festered in the heart. It's contentment.
Just being happy with Allah's plan. It's like, Allah, I trust you and I'm happy with your plan, whatever it is. I might not like it at this point, but this is your plan.
Especially accepting the hardship. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's easy when the times are good, but it's not that easy when the times are tough.
Yeah. And working at Nisa Homes, that's one thing that I've learned. You see women that have been through a lot of hardship, as you know, right?
Yeah.
And some women come in there with this contentment. It leaves you in awe, right? There's this peace and contentment even within their hardship. And that's one of the things that, people say, you're still with Nisa Homes 7 years later? Yes, because part of it is for my healing, right? So that I can learn to be grateful and content with whatever I have in life. And that's how Nisa Homes gives back to me.
Absolutely. I think it's about just having that uttermost trust in Allah and knowing that wherever I'm at in life right now, this is exactly where I need to be and is written for me. And Allah's love and mercy is there, no matter where we are, what we're doing, to just trust. And it's hard. It's easy to say, but it's that ongoing practice and reminder to yourself to really be present in that moment and express gratitude and whatnot. So
I feel it's Allah's way of compensating you also if you go through a lot, and when you feel that you can't take it anymore, and then this you feel content and you feel like you are okay. And sometimes I feel that as I'm healing now, I'm out of that situation. I was closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I was going through that.
Allahu Akbar.
And I feel sometimes I get scared that what's happening, I'm not as focused, I'm not as close, I'm not as, I can't feel that degree of connection now. I think that's Allah's special gift to people who are suffering or who are going through stuff, and then they still believe that this is Allah's plan. I'm just going to be okay.
SubhanAllah, I'm going to add one more. I'm tying this back to Nisa Homes, not because I'm trying to pitch Nisa Homes, I swear, but because honestly, that's the reason we have a place like Nisa Homes that has that cultural and religious sensitivity part to it, because we know during the hardest times in our lives, that's when we seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's when we go back to Him. And there's even research to back this up, that in the Muslim community, when we face hardships, we go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We go back to our two things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the community. That's where we find that support and that care and that, strength to keep going. And that's why we have a place like this, because we know as a community, this is what we need to keep going. This is what we need to heal and to thrive, like we talked about. And it's, at the end of the day, it's just, it is what it is. It's kind of like, the medicine that you need. If we know this is what we need, then this is what we should be providing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say? Because, when, women get married, they expect all these expectations, right? It's a lovely home. Obedient kids, although they find out really early.
Obedient other people do,
right? They don't make them anymore.
As a 20, like me, I'm thinking I'm gonna have this lovely house and children that are gonna listen to my every word. I'm gonna have a loving marriage. Sometimes the idea of like it not meeting my expectations is a real fear, right? That things can go really sour, and obviously, like coming from just a cultural background, the idea of failing in a relationship, so it's also a huge fear, and I can imagine why women might contemplate staying, in something that they shouldn't, they know they shouldn't. So my question would be to you guys is like, especially for Batul and Sobia, is when did you like emotionally realize couldn't go on? Like when did you emotionally realize like, okay, I can't stay here and I don't want to stay here anymore?
I think when there was a complete loss of safety, and you knew that going forward is not going to make things any better. If only it would aggravate things and make things worse. And that almost that sense of danger for your iman, for your health, mental health, everything. I think it was then that I realized, I think my time is up and I have to do something differently. As terrifying as it is, no matter what other people are going to say, the external pressures, I really had to sit with that, do istikhara and seek guidance on the next steps, which were so different from my idea what life would have led me to. Right? So to do something so terrifyingly different, and not knowing what's going to happen, that uncertainty, to push past that. It's really this, loss of safety that made me realize that I need to wake up and take these scary steps forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm laughing now, but
Yeah.
because I'm like, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah,
Good job, girl.
Yes, good job.
I'm like,
girl,
cheering.
that's right.
And that's exactly why you're a thriver, because you're at alhamdulillah, like, you know. And it's easy to look back now and be like, thank God I got out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, for me, the biggest hurdle was myself, my own thoughts, my own feelings, and the fact that I have 2 girls and I have a little boy, and then all the things that have been fed in our minds. What are you going to do? You're responsible for keeping the home together. You're responsible to keep the family together. What's going to happen to your girls? All that. And then when my girls grew up and they said, enough is enough. The only person stopping you from your happiness is yourself. And you're not responsible. You're not responsible for everything. You did your best. And that's sort of that validation coming from my kids, from my girls. It started me thinking that, yeah, this is not all right. And also another factor was for me, I thought that was my religious obligation to just keep giving, being like I have to be grateful, I have to be thankful, I have to be, I was told that, oh, I'm the one who got the shorter end of the stick. You should be grateful. You have a house, you have kids, why are you so thankless? So that mentality that kept me going, and then then I couldn't. It's not me who left. Still, the other person took the decision, and I'm so happy. I'm so thankful. Sometimes I hear people say that, oh, Allah is not going to come down for you. You have to do something. But in my case, I didn't do anything. Allah pulled me out. All I did was I started making dua, and I started getting in touch with my own feelings. I started paying attention to what I wanted, and I started praying. I started making dua, and it just came in front of me. Allah just made it happen for me. I can't thank Allah enough for, making it easy for me.
SubhanAllah.
So I'm in a very good place now. Alhamdulillah. I have no regrets. I did my best. I gave my best. I waited. I couldn't have done any better. So this is something that gives me peace, and this helped me heal a lot.
I think that's a beautiful perspective, because, sometimes we might not have the strength to do something. Does that mean we're doomed? Does that mean we're doomed as well? And I love that you said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped you in this case. Even though I know it's important to tie your camel, but there are opportunities where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can intervene, which is a great way to also, it gives you hope.
Yes.
There's always doors, you
Yes.
know? And all doors are still hard. To make that dua is still hard, I'm assuming. It's not easy to make that dua,
Yes.
and
I felt I wasn't brave enough. I didn't have that courage to take that step and then later regret, I wasn't sure. And that's why I want to go and help someone who would need this help, who would need this, who would need someone to tell them that this is the right way, you're doing the right thing,
But I think, if I can add, but you are brave. Going through that is brave. Making that dua, making that, you might not have made that decision then, but you don't know what could have happened. And withstanding that is brave. That is strength. That's not a small feat, mashallah.
it is not. It's to make dua for something that is really troubling and asking Allah for assistance. I remember my teacher used to say, we go to everyone but Allah. About our problems,
Yes.
We'll go to the doctor, we'll go to our parents, but we won't go to Allah first. And it really speaks that you went to Allah first. And I'm sure that you might have had an opportunity where you've done it, but Allah exited you out quickly. And I think that's beautiful to see that, that we can go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. And we can also find, we can also make those steps forwards as well. But speaking of religious obligations, what are some of the misconceptions about domestic violence in our community? What is it religiously and culturally?
That it doesn't exist?
That's a massive one. That's a massive one, that it doesn't exist. Absolutely. But why do we believe that?
The first one is to identify the abuse. Emotional abuse is not even identified. It's not even, emotional abuse is big. That that's the thing that breaks you. And people don't know they're being abused. I didn't know I was being abused. I thought it was my duty to go to be happy and to do what I need to do. And, I am the one making that person upset. I'm the one who's not fulfilling. I'm the one who's, not able to keep everybody happy. It's not my job to keep everyone happy. But that's abuse right there. We don't see it.
Unless it's physical, it doesn't have that same weight, right?
Yes.
We don't see all the other forms of abuse, the emotional, the financial, the spiritual. All of that.
Well, the women that come to us too, right? Like, unless they've endured extreme physical abuse, they carry with them so much guilt around, maybe I could have just, right? Like, for my kids, he was just, financially not providing, and he used to shout and yell, and he used to lock us up, and maybe I could have just. Right. So as Batul's saying, it's also defining what abuse means, and if we don't know that, then we won't know that we're in that space of abuse and that we have the right to walk out.
Yeah. In terms of like religious obligations, like there's also this, I remember when I was in the process of, contemplating on what to do next, there's a lot of pressure of like, stay for the sake of the kids. What are you thinking? What's going to happen with Reiman? And, that you need to stick together, that you need to just do sabr, right? And it was this idea that if you don't, or you're not doing enough, then you're not a good enough Muslim, right? And that you have to just sit and endure and swallow it and accept it as what it is. Or not what it is really, and more like in denial, because they're not even, acknowledging that this is something serious. There's this, I feel like there's an enormous pressure externally as well, and through misconceptions of what is religion and what is not, or maybe it's like muddied with, culture, which can contradict so much from what our deen is purely, right? And they make you seem like what you're doing is so un-Islamic.
Well,
and
Sobia, good point, amazing point, because our religion does not condone abuse, period.
Exactly.
Emotional, spiritual, financial,
Absolutely.
Zero tolerance for abuse, right? It's that culture that passes it down and makes it okay and makes us question whether we should be more patient, whether we are being abused, right? If you look at religion, it's zero tolerance.
Yeah, like I still remember being quoted all kinds of maybe unauthentic or like manipulated words that said, that I'll give you an example as, if your husband goes to sleep angry at you, you are destined to go to hell if you die in that state. And I would be terrified. I would not sleep at night going, if I close my eyes and I die, I'm doomed. And it was
Exactly.
And it was used over and over again. Or the idea that, if a person was to bow down to anyone else besides Allah,
I know this line.
Drum roll, please.
Yes.
That it would be a woman to her husband. And,
SubhanAllah.
I would be, actually, that was like the favorite,
That was her favorite line.
favorite quote of all my many years. And because you're in that kind of bubble, in a very controlled environment, you start to believe that that's your reality and that this is what Islam teaches us. So I better just, keep my mouth zipped and just deal with it.
Have patience.
Have
patience.
Have sabr.
Another one that hell will be full of women who were who were ungrateful to their husbands.
Yeah.
You think you hear a lot of these things and you do not hear the real Islam, but then again, it's on us to find out if this is authentic or not. But everybody just quotes things that keep coming back to women not being good enough.
Yeah. Or it's all our fault. It's on the woman at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's your fault whether you did it, whether you didn't, whether you left, whether you stayed, no matter what, it's on you at the end of the day. And it sucks because Like there's only like you can't control other people at the end of the day. And I want to go back to misconceptions and all of that because there's too many to list. But you guys mentioned a couple. There's a couple more. You know, the fact that divorce is viewed as something that's haram. How can you even think about divorce? Like how even when there's no abuse. Even the concept of divorce is made to feel like it's haram when it's not. It's an avenue for us because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows things don't always work out. And it's okay that you acknowledge that. It's not the end of the world. But that's what we're taught. We're taught that it's, you know, the most important thing is to stay in your marriage, to stay in your home, the sanctity of the home, which is true. Obviously, there is a sanctity in the home. When the home is a safe place, when everyone is doing their role as Islam actually prescribes it. And to, I think, to Reena's point earlier about how we carry so much guilt, that's such a common thing that we hear that I need to go speak to an imam just so I know what I did is halal. What I did is not haram. They, like, no matter how much I tell them, no, like, you didn't do anything wrong. He kicked you out. You were on the street. What more can you possibly do? And they still carry that guilt that it is still my fault. Yeah. No matter what, like, it's very unfair, obviously, and it's not true. Also, just the concept of that idea of reaching out for help, that it's wrong to reach out for help and it's wrong to intervene when you see someone going through something that we think this is private, this is happening behind closed doors. It's not, it's haram for us to go and intervene in people's personal affairs. Or there's also that concept of it's haram that, you know, we don't know the full story. We don't know both sides of the story and all of that stuff. And it's also wrong for us to, when something is happening, that we actually try to do something about it. That, you know, we talked about sabr. I lost my train of thought completely, but that was all a mush of ideas. If anyone wants to make sense of it.
No, but to your first idea or the second thought that you shared was, it really was when I talked to a very balanced sheikh. And he told me that you cannot stay in this situation. It's hurting you and it's harming you. You need to leave. And I was like, what?
That's awesome.
But I've never heard that in my life. Actually, I think he does work with us.
And that's the power of validation. Right?
And suddenly I'm like, literally, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. And I was like, I could breathe easier. I'm like, so you're validating my experience and it's totally okay what I've done. He was absolutely. Wow. You need to keep your kids safe. And that's when I just got to really embrace that decision and just move forward with it. Which is, alhamdulillah, great that I got that support. But what if people didn't get that support? Like, why are we waiting for that validation, right? And I think there's a group of people that really emphasize on certain teachings but manipulate it, and I think that's such a dangerous thing to manipulate the words of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ to use for your own personal means and gains, and you're hurting and harming people. Excuse me. And you're hurting and harming people. So to see another side of it where there are a group of, you know, religious leaders that are speaking against this and are working hard to reteach the community about what Islam is actually truly teaching us. You know, there's a real movement, yes, in that forum, and I'm super grateful that I had connected with a certain imam and it allowed me to actually connect a lot of other sisters that came through me to him. I said, you know what? This is the one person you need to talk to. Because there are other people or people in religious, you know, leadership positions that tell you otherwise. You know, they'll say, no, stay. You have to stay for the sake of the kids.
Oh, that happened to me twice. I went to two different sheikhs and both of them were like, you're okay, you know, because this person, unfortunately, he also calls himself scholar of Islam, and they connected, and then I look like the person who's complaining and who's not being reasonable. So not everyone is lucky. Maybe I wasn't smart enough to reach out on my own. I don't know, but I wasn't lucky enough to go to the right person. So it dragged me for another couple of years.
But that's the thing. That's part of the abuse, right? He isolated you. You only knew what you knew through that, right? So I don't think it was you not knowing. It was that was by design, right? By design, you know the imams that he knows, and that's a huge part of it. How many times, Reena, do we have clients that come to us at Nisa Homes? I went to an imam 10, 20 years ago and he told me to stay. It took me 10, 20 years to build up that courage again to reach out for help.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what they went through with that 10, 20 years? Like how, and that's what makes or breaks someone. Like you're lucky to have been able to get out after 10, 20 years. We know people that don't make it out. They don't make it out.
Right, and Batul, you said the statement, maybe I wasn't strong enough, right? I want to challenge that for you as well, because you went, and it wasn't your fault that you got misguided.
Yeah.
Right? Those people who advise these women to stay are not strong enough to stand up to the haqq, to the truth. The truth is they should be supporting the women that are being oppressed by people.
That goes back to the barriers that we have in our religion, and not in our religion, in our community. Sorry, not in our religion at all, but in our community, in that we have to always, I mentioned this earlier, that the two sides of the story, and that we have to, we can't just take one person's word for it. We have to find out, and at the end of the day, we have to, he looks like he's okay. He looks like he volunteers. He looks like he's part of the mosque. He's part of the community. How can he be bad at home? No. You maybe something happened. Maybe it was a bad day. That's what we always want to justify, right? We don't want to believe that this person that prays next to us in the mosque or leads the prayer could possibly be someone that hurts his wife at home, or even gives talks about not hurting your wives, and he does this at home, right? But that's the reality, that it can happen to anyone. It can happen anywhere, and it happens outside the Muslim community, obviously, just as much. But I definitely think that concept of, just because it's happening behind closed doors, you don't know what's going on. You don't know how this person is behind closed doors.
Absolutely. And I think it is so sad to hear that our appointed religious leaders have fallen short so many times by so many people. And this is exactly why some of these issues continue to persist in the Muslim community. That's exactly why. Because when they are seeking help, they're not getting the help. And then they're not speaking up after, because that took everything in them to do it, right? And it's just, this is something that kind of infuriates me totally. And what would you say, before I ask this question actually, before you got married, what did you picture marriage was going to be like?
A walk in the park.
Certainly not this.
Park. It would be loving, and it would just be something that you grow old and gray with, right? Like those old couple holding hands. But there was a point where I realized, and it's sad to say now, but I learned to accept that my reality was going to be different, and it's not going to be like that. But I still accepted the fact that this is how I'm going to die, and it's going to be okay.
Oh my God.
And yeah, that was, it hurts me now to think that with the layers and layers of teachings that we have had as girls, and, these limiting beliefs that I had for myself, the lack of confidence made me think of such a bleak future and still be okay with it. So, alhamdulillah, I'm really grateful to be in a place where I can actually see really bright ideas and future now, and it's so exciting. And that's why even though I have this terrifying goal for myself, I am okay to strive for that and more, inshallah, till the day of my last breath. Inshallah, right? And I think that's why I've taken a major turn in my life from having that bleak future and acceptance of that future to saying, no, there's so much more. And even beyond this, that Allah probably has even more than what I can even dream of. And I'm so excited every day to see what reveals next in my life, the exciting things and the people I get to meet and conversations I get to have. And really it's like, I'm living in color now. And it feels amazing.
I'm just imagining the color.
Color. That's probably why I wear a lot of sparkles now. Like I'm just living my full life, alhamdulillah, day by day. And it's just day and night from how I lived before.
Oh,
and it feels great.
Oh.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because I'm still going through the phase where I'm in the process of healing. Some days are good, some days are not that good. And can I add to the previous question? So I went to a sheikh, and I told him very clearly that he said divorce 3 times, and we are done. And he said, no, I take responsibility. Go back with this man and make your home.
Subhanallah.
And this person has a masjid, and he's a sheikh. And and he said, when I tell you that you have to go back with this man and make your home and make your family work, at that point, I was very confused. I was really confused. And he said that shaitan is telling you to break your home, and it's my responsibility.
Yeah. What did you do? You didn't even do anything. He's the one that gave you the divorce.
Exactly. So I shouldn't make them angry. Shouldn't make them say those words. So for me, I'm still in the process where I go back someday. I think about something, and then I go back and then I say, no, I'm okay now. I'm all right. I'm going to be okay. I can do whatever I want to do now. And I mean, there's a struggle, of course, but I'm ready for it. Yeah. I feel I'm ready for it. Yeah.
May Allah continue to bless your healing. Make it easy for you. Speaking of healing, what are the ugly parts of healing? Like, what are the parts of healing that's ugly that people might not expect that it is healing, because it feels so difficult? What do you think is a difficult part of healing?
The loneliness.
Loneliness.
I think with me is that for such an extended period of time, years, 2 decades basically, is I numb myself through every experience. I never acknowledged it for what it was. And I just kind of just motioned through the days and never allowed myself to process or feel or acknowledge, even have words of expression, of even being able to name what I'm feeling. I didn't have any of those tools. And it was after, that I decided to leave, and I started therapy, was when I finally got to face these experiences one by one. I can say to this point now, after 4 or 5 years of therapy and doing a lot of inner work and kind of self-educating myself, I've almost like a catalog. I've been able to go through each and every one of those experiences and had to process through everything one by one by one by one. And that, imagine 20 years of that. So it was painful. It was tough to have to go back to those experiences, revisit them, feel it, and allow myself whatever time I needed to fully feel it, name it, just really get ugly in it. Cry ugly. Like, one of my friends said, Sylvia, sometimes what I used to do was put on really sad music and just cry and cry, like really purge yourself. And I'm like, that's insane. Are you serious? She's like, yeah, just give it a try. And I did. I would literally give myself a time in the day. Okay, this is where I'm going to do it. And I would just go in my room and just let it rip. Yeah. And it seemed odd at that time. And I'm like, what am I doing? But I'm looking back now, I'm like, alhamdulillah, I got to do that, because otherwise, if you haven't processed those experiences, they linger. And they manifest in different ways, in the way you might be interacting with people. You might be projecting your fears onto healthier interactions that you might have afterwards. And that processing and sitting with it and really getting ugly with it is so necessary. And it feels gross at the time, but it's so beautiful when you finally have gone through that experience and that process. And one by one, the load just starts lightening, one at a time, at a time. And so, alhamdulillah, I'm really grateful to have done that. And I can actually say that I've gone through each and every one of those and have worked through it. I'm not saying I'm healed. I don't think that's, I don't know. Like, I think that healing is a lifelong process. I don't think it'll ever come to a point where
you reach a finish line.
I'm
right?
done. Next, it's something they'll be with me because it's my lived experience. And but how do you cope with it, and how do you manage those feelings, and how do you still allow yourself to enjoy the moments that you're going through, the new things, and being excited about it, and not living through a filtered lens anymore. Crystal clear, so. It's worth it. Yes, it's ugly, but it's worth the process and the work, and having some professional guidance through it. That's a different concept. Conversation about accessibility as well to mental health support and whatnot. But when you do have that resource, alhamdulillah, I think it's so important, and I'm so grateful that Nisa Homes has. Those services as well to help families heal holistically in all aspects. I think we talked about earlier, where emotional and psychological abuse, you can't see it, but it stores in the body. If you look at and somatic trauma and whatnot, like it literally stores in your body. And how can we sort of work through that with guidance and with psychotherapy and professionals who can help you unlock that and release it? So important.
Did you know that every day over 5,700 children become orphans? That's nearly 2 million plus children in a year who have no family, no support, and nobody to turn to. Which is why we have partnered up with Islamic Ummah Relief, a U.S.-based NGO that is actively providing for the needs of orphans, widows, and the needy, working on humanitarian projects in Ghana, Nigeria, Niger, Uganda, and Togo. With your help and generosity, these last 10 days of Ramadan, we'll be able to house these orphans and provide a safe place for them to live in. Visit launchgood.com/TDS10 to make a donation towards building a house for an orphan today. I'd love to give a little bit of an update. Last week in Noor's episode, we said we wouldn't drop part 2 unless we met our fundraising goals of fundraising for 138 women and youth to develop employable skills in Madego, Kenya. Our fundraising goal is at 25K. I mean, we're almost there, kind of. I still believe we can do it, guys. I still believe we could get there. If everyone, actually, give me 1 second. I'm going to tell you another update. There was exactly, if I'm being completely accurate, let's see here. If I'm being completely accurate, in Noor's episode, we had over 33,000. Actually, no. We had 39,000 people stream Noor's episode. If every single one of y'all gave $1, y'all would probably had part 2 by Thursday. Okay? You would have had part 2 by Thursday. If every single one of you, if you just gave $1, subhanAllah. So I'm encouraging even just $1. If today you go on the link, donate just $1, subhanAllah, we can get to our fundraising goals before even Friday. So inshallah, if you're listening, strap up your waist, donate whatever you can, even if it's $1. And if you can't donate, khair, share it. Ask others if they're interested in donating and giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last 10 nights is not over. We're still in the race, and there's still opportunities to seek Allah's forgiveness. So donate, even if it's $1, inshallah. And we can get part 2 out to you guys. Pause. I know the story is getting so good, but wait, I have a message for you that you're going to want to hear, okay? Have you been looking for an opportunity to reconnect your faith by building a relationship with the Quran, or even learning Quranic Arabic, or even getting your questions answered about different rulings? Well, let me tell you, the Ribat Academic Institute is an online program that provides traditional Islamic education for women by women. Yes, you heard me right. Islamic education for women by women. Yes, all the courses are taught by female scholars. Allah Mabarak. You have choice from over 50 courses ranging from Sirah to Tajweed to Fiqh and hadith. You can even take in classes like the 99 Names of Allah, or Purifying the Heart, or the reflections from the Quran, and the lessons from the life of the Prophet ﷺ, as well as a Mentorship Matters program on how to guide and support and help others. Ribat's online classes have been reconnecting Muslim women from all around the world with their faith and helping them reclaim their traditionally held leadership roles in Islamic scholarship, mentorship, and community care. All classes are held live online and recordings are posted after class. And the courses, guys, the courses are affordable. They're not expensive at all. They also provide country discounts and scholarships are available. Scholarships are available. So there's no reason why you shouldn't sign up. So if you're interested, visit Rabata, that's rabata.info/TDS and register today. I actually have a question for Rina, actually. How does someone who is in a relationship with someone that's violent, emotional, physical, and they're in a bad place mental health wise, like, doesn't our mental health also contribute to our decisions?
100%.
So how does somebody who's in a dark place get out of that if they're mentally in a dark space?
Right. And so, one thing we have to understand is anytime that we are in a difficult situation like abuse, right, we are already compromised in terms of our ability to make decisions.
Yeah.
So a lot of women say, how did I take it for 20 years? Why didn't I leave sooner, right? I could have. I saw my children suffer. We suffered. I should have. And I could have. All those questions that we have. So we have to understand something about trauma is when you're in that situation, your ability to make decisions is compromised. Okay. Scans show that, the frontal part of your brain that we use for functioning, decision-making, planning is compromised when you're undergoing trauma. Okay. And so many women that come to Nisa Homes, when we do that psychoeducation bit, right, it's liberating. All that guilt, that shame of, okay, it wasn't my fault. I didn't contribute to this. I wasn't able to. So when I tell women, trust me, you weren't able to. That's why you didn't do it. Right? Wow. So that's the first part about understanding how trauma affects our decisions, our decision-making ability. Now, the second part of what you said is, how does someone who's already in a dark place and then is being abused and then has mental health issues, this is where I say our community matters, right? Yeah. This is where your friendships, your community matters. This person might go once to seek help. Be that person that guides them to the right place, because maybe they'll talk themselves into staying, right? Maybe they have other underlying medical or mental health conditions that will prevent them from making that move. But if you're watching, you're listening, you're paying attention, right? As a friend, as a community member, as a neighbor, you can help that person. So educate ourselves, be safe for these women and children. Notice what's happening in your community. Don't take the blind eye and just ignore a woman crying.
Yeah.
Ask her if she's okay. And how many times do we get called in from at the masjid? There's a random woman that's just crying there, doesn't have anywhere to go.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah. And how can you, let's talk about how can you as a friend, as a family member, what do you do if you see someone who's going through something like that?
That's a really good question, because I feel like there's a lot of us that have seen it, and
it's true. Everyone, I think there was a campaign that everyone knows someone.
Yeah.
And the statistics show that most people know someone
who's experiencing
gone through it.
But how do we do it? Well, first of all, the first thing I think of is my safety, right? Because I think about well, if he knows that I know what's going on, what does that mean for me? And then sometimes I also have this fear where if I tell my friend, hey, I know this is a bad situation and you're not talking about it, that she's going to tell me I'm crazy and I'm lying and I'm trying to break up her marriage. That's a real fear. What I'm saying? Yeah. That talking to a friend and possibly might be in denial. Yeah. And then you start to doubt yourself, did I even see what I saw? Right. You start to even doubt yourself. I'm am I sure I'm qualified to recognize domestic violence?
But you're qualified to recognize brokenness, suffering, pain, right? You're qualified as a human being to recognize those states and those emotions. And so we always have to ask ourselves, do I want to be that person that goes, I'm too afraid of harming my friendship, right, by asking that question, and take the risk of, I'll find out that something horrible happened to that person.
Yeah.
Right. So you might have to take your friendship to the test, to that place you don't want it to go. And you might have to risk losing that friendship for a time, because remember, I just said that person's ability to make proper decisions at that time is compromised. Maybe 5 years down the road, she'll come and say thank you for what you did. Right. And also when you tell that person, I recognize, then they'll notice someone's noticing.
Yeah.
Right. There's someone I can go to. So maybe the first time you said it, she didn't. She cut you out. But when she's at that place where she finally says, I'm done, she'll remember, oh, Rena asked me. Right. And Yasmin, to come to your question of the how, that's why the education piece is so important. Find out the resources. Find out who you can connect them to. I always tell people, don't go rescue ranger on people. You could mess things up, right? But find out the people that do it and connect them to those people, because we know we're trained on how to safely help somebody leave their home.
And I think it's about being there for them. Look, at the end of the day, when someone comes to you, they're not asking you to solve the problem. They're asking you to be there for them. They're asking you to support them. They're asking you to believe them, right? Just that validation, I think you mentioned earlier, just that knowing, yes, I believe you. No, it's not in your head. No, you're not crazy. No, it's not your fault. Just hearing that, it might not make that difference that day. They might not choose to leave that day, but that's what your role is then as a support person, as someone who understands this is happening. You know that you have to be patient. This is a process. I think the statistic is that it takes a woman on average seven attempts of leaving before she actually can leave. So you have to be that person that, you got to be there. She'll say, no, you're horrible. Oh my God, you're trying to break up my marriage. And then 2 days later, she'll call you, can you help me with this or that? And that's your role, is to just be patient with it and support them however they want. At the end of the day, this is their decision. At the end of the day, I can't tell her to stay and I can't tell her to leave.
And that's what I was going to add to right there, right? Like in my profession, how many times we'll work with a woman and then she'll say, I think I'm going back.
You have to,
right?
Yeah,
so my job is not to pull you out and rescue you and put you in this home. No. My job is to be there for you as a human being, as a sister. If you decide to stay, as an adult, you decide that I want that. What's my role? Right? I can just be there with you while you make this decision.
And I can still continue to be there and support you, because I know you're going back to a situation that you might need my help again. And I will have to be patient. It's hard. It's hard seeing those women go back sometimes. I'm like, no, But you have to be there. You have to support them. And because I know the journey. I know that this is part of their process, part of their journey. And one of the main misconceptions about Nisa Homes is that we break up families. That, people come to us and then we're like, leave your home, come. Yeah. We would never do that. We know how hard it is. It's such a difficult journey to leave. It's such a difficult journey to restart your whole life, to leave behind everything you hold near and dear. It is never a choice that we make for someone. Most of the time when women come to us, this is their last option. They're either out on the streets, they're completely unsafe in their homes. They're locked in the closet and trying to call us from the closet. These are situations where I can't be like, no, just, wait or whatever. At the end of the day, it's safety first, and I have to make sure that they're safe, and they make that choice. But we don't go and knock on people's door and tell them, just come to Nisa Homes. That doesn't make any
you're
sense.
Not endorsing this.
And by the time they come to Nisa Homes, the house is already broken. The family is already broken. You're not reaching out to a shelter because you have a bad day. You're reaching out when things cannot continue.
Yeah. Or you can't go back. Absolutely. I had a question for you, actually. What is it like, Yasmin? Okay, what is it like to see a person who is experiencing some severe stuff and then decide to go back? I can imagine that must be really hard to see them walk out.
It is very heartbreaking. We've had situations where we've had people that have reached out to us and have passed away afterwards, and after they chose to go back, or not passed away, sorry, that were killed, that were just plainly killed by their abuser. So it is. Oh my God, it's the hardest thing I've ever been through personally, and I can't do anything, right? You're the only thing I can do is be like, okay, I'm here for you. I know you're going back, but I'm still here for you. Please call me. Please reach out to me whenever you need anything. But it is such a hard, especially if there's kids involved, especially if you know what's going on. And I can talk a bit a lot about like systemic issues and why these women choose to do that. Yeah, obviously part of it is that their personal trauma, but a big part of it is the way that society is right now, the way the community is, the way that the system is. It's extremely unaffordable. No one can afford. We're talking about like rental prices of, you know, $2,000 for a one bedroom. Like who can afford that when you're, you know, you're just starting your life again? We're talking about welfare that's $600. What is that supposed to get them? What are they supposed to afford for $600?
Toronto rent is $2,000?
That
Yes.
we're talking about
That's
a bedroom.
minimal.
Yeah, this is okay. We're talking about a bedroom where you share everything, including a washroom, paying $800. $800, that's more than what you get on welfare. And people come, they have the audacity to say, oh, these people are just, you know, taking welfare. Every woman we've had has worked her hardest to get her life back in order. They come to us and like, please help me find a job. I want to get back. I want to get back to my life. I want to start doing something. No one ever wants to live on welfare where they cannot even meet their basic needs. And it's not just Toronto. Sorry. It's not just Toronto. It's all over Canada.
Yeah.
Living and especially now, the cost of living is extremely unaffordable. So they make this choice not out of wanting to go back, out of necessity. I either live on the streets or live in poverty and have my children grow up in poverty, or I go back and at least, it's abuse, but at least I have a roof over my head and food on the table.
Yeah, I'll share my perspective on that. I've actually never spoken about this, and I forgot about it until you brought it up. It's the limitations of even when you apply. Like I had to look at that. I did go and apply for welfare to see if, you know, what can I do? And you cannot earn a certain amount. And it's a very tiny threshold to even to be applicable for welfare. So I was like, I was in this debating situation of, okay, they're going to fully control my life, come in, they're going to have to check in with the kids and know where they're going and what's happening and know the finer details of my life. And I can only make a certain amount. I think it was like $300.
Yep.
Right?
It is.
Okay. Because I'm like, it's been a while and I was so terrified. I was literally traumatized by that experience going into the office. And I'm like, how can I not let myself try to earn more than that? And do I now like cheat the system? Or do I kind of like do it under the table? And I had to really sit with that going, yes, I desperately need money right now to be able to pay my bills and whatnot. But I'm like, I still won't get enough money. And I still have to force myself to stay within the means to still be able to get this money.
It's a cycle of poverty, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. It sounds like a cycle.
It was a cycle. And I
goodness.
had such severe anxiety trying to figure out, what do I do though? I have no education. Like I mentioned, I hadn't even finished high school, 3 kids in tow, and I'm completely on my own. And so I had to make this brave decision that, you know what, I'm just going to have to work my butt off and start earning money.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Just figure it out. And one thing at a time, just hustle. And that's what I had to do to be able to, you know, earn enough to pay my next bill, you know, get food on the table. And even though it was a very scary experience, because I'm like, what can I do with the minimal resources that I have of myself, my skills, education, you know, what can I do? And I guess having an entrepreneurial side or experience that I've grown up with, and my father actually running his own business, etc. I have like an entrepreneurial spirit, so I just started to create ideas and services, and you know, through this previous business that I've been running for a while, I had learned marketing services, and I said, okay, I think I can write well enough, so let me provide copywriting services and social media stuff, and you know, just I guess the basics of marketing. I understand it enough that I think I have a slighter, more understanding of it than an average person that might not, right? So I just started from scratch. And it was after that slowly, and I guess through Allah's mercy, that I got to work with some really big clients.
And your hard work too. I mean, you worked
I
hard.
did work hard.
Yeah.
I did. I was just nonstop. I'm like, because I knew that feeling of that feeling of humiliation walking through those doors for welfare. I was like, I'm not doing that again.
You know,
And
can I just say that, mashallah, beautiful. It's such a beautiful story, and you worked really hard to get to where you are, and these are success stories. And then I also work with people at Nisa Homes that, let's say, don't speak English, you know, or they don't
have young kids. How can they afford childcare?
And so we talk about this perpetuation of the cycle, right? So we're forcing them into then labor jobs that are either, under the table, working for cash jobs, cleaning and getting abuse there. And so we're setting them back into this like whirlwind. And you're asking
of
them
oppression, a different form of
it
oppression
is.
too,
It
right?
definitely puts you in a place of vulnerability.
100%.
And then these people, there could be, predatory people who have the upper hand to be able to manipulate and use that and abuse that.
So we've seen that at Nisa Homes where women will go and do these cash jobs, and we don't condone them or push them or connect them, but they, out of desperation, will find them through links.
SubhanAllah.
And then they're coming back because now they got abused at a workplace.
Oh no.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's too, because like on top of that is another layer of like let's say that you are a new mom, right? And you need to also work, and you need to also find childcare. You're working a labor job.
You don't have family.
Yeah, you don't have family
support.
And then you're also, for example, experiencing discrimination. You know, and you're experiencing Islamophobia.
Yep.
They're preventing you from praying salah. You know, and it's almost like they're trying to strip everything from you, even your sense of iman. Yeah, you know, it was iman that got them out. You know, this idea of tawakkul. And then here they're at a workplace hoping to gain some stability, and now they can't pray. You know, I've heard so many stories of women who left, abusive relationships, started to work a labor job, and then that labor job was also oppressing them and abusing them in a different form, and it just feels like they just exchanged one abuse for another.
Right.
And then we wonder, why did they go back?
Yeah.
So this is like, how do we fix this?
It's
Like, I know this sounds so crazy, but like, what can we do as, because this is from everywhere, bro. Like, it's also from religious institutions, from leaders who don't seem like they're qualified. And then there are these women who are just trying to figure out a way forward. You know what I'm saying? And then they're also dealing with the stigma and probably the fear of telling people they're at a shelter. I can imagine that too. Because I know a lot of women that were in my school, my age. Okay, and by the way, there's also this misconception that domestic violence only happens to older women.
Yeah.
You know, that it doesn't happen to young women who are in young relationships and all that stuff. So I remember there was a girl who used to come to my class, and I didn't know where she was going. She just seemed like she was going home and coming back. But one day she couldn't make it to her presentation. And so the teacher asked her, like, what is your issue? Like, why are you, if you don't give me a valid reason as to why you're late, I'm going to have to give you a 0.
Oh my God.
And she started crying. And she left the room, and the teacher was just very brutal. And I remember it was just very brutal. And I went to her, I said, like, what's going on? Like, is there any way I can help you? And I didn't know she had children or anything like that. She said she was staying at a shelter. That she didn't even have enough token to get to class. And the reason why she's even going to school is to make something out of herself.
Yeah.
And here's this teacher, and she feels embarrassed to even tell the teacher, as young as she is, to could ask her questions like, where's your parents? You know, that's humiliating. You know what I'm saying? Like that, to even go back and tell people why you come from a broken home, why are you that's traumatizing, first of all, to all of it to unpack, and to reveal to a complete stranger is a lot to ask. And that was her situation. I just remember thinking, like, she was doing all the things she needed to do to get help, and yet that was hard. You know, I couldn't even add anything to it. You know, I thought about like, offering, and you obviously have to give these people dignity and respect. You know, I don't want to say, hey, I could do this for them. I was trying to do things that weren't obvious.
And there's other options too, right? Like, I can watch your kids. I can, leave them with me while you need to study, or I can drop you off.
And that's what I did. She brought the kid, and I waited outside while she did her presentation. But you see, these were these options you can obviously present, but like, it's coming from everywhere. Women are getting it from everywhere.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the Islamophobia part, if you don't mind. But that's one of the things that also holds women back here, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's two sides to it. The first side is that, as a Muslim community, a lot of times when they see Nisa Homes, it's this like, oh, you're perpetuating the misconception that Muslim women are abused, which doesn't make sense because we're doing something about it, right? Yeah. We're actually, as a Muslim community, we are doing it, right?
Why are you doing
we are doing the opposite of saying it's okay. We're saying it's not okay, and we're having a service for that. But on the flip side, a lot of the women that come to us, they've reached out for help from other mainstream services, and they've experienced Islamophobia, which again, you're already leaving behind so much. It's already a struggle as it is. I don't want my choice, my faith, my iman to be questioned, and I don't want to have to deal with that and have to justify to you, no, my religion doesn't say that. No, I'm not supposed to. No, this is not okay. I'm already going through enough. I just need the help, right? I don't need you to be another obstacle on my way, or another, or even that, that idea that I don't want to feed into that stereotype. I don't want them to see me at a shelter as a Muslim woman and say, oh yeah, that's because Islam does that. That holds them back, holds a lot of women back too, because we don't want to make it seem like that's the way that, our religion is, which it is not, but that's what Islamophobia does, right?
Something I was thinking about, just even on talking about homelessness, something I've also seen, maybe you guys can provide more clarity on this, is women who experience homelessness are single, who get married for stability, and that who find themselves kind of cornered to marry, like they're cornered to marry someone
or new converts too.
Yeah,
I see that a lot.
So I was gonna add that, and I saw another layer I didn't see until like recently about revert sisters being, I would say, coerced into relationships, promising them stability.
Yes, or
right?
a way out of an abusive family that
right.
that's not accepting Islam. So come
here,
marry me.
And in reality, they do. They marry. They target reverts, right? They target them because they know they don't have. They'll say that they don't have community or family.
Yeah,
and that's why you touch on an important factor, that community. It's so important. At Nisa Homes, do I see revert young girls, 18 plus, that got married and within a year or two are now facing divorce because they've gone through immense amount of abuse? Absolutely. And that is their story, right? That we left our home and this person promised us to teach us Quran and to teach us Islam and to bring us in the community. And I'm a revert myself. And I remember when I came into Islam, it's what you want. You leave your entire life behind. Right? You're rejected after so many years. So you find this community, and this is what reverts want. They want to be welcomed. Yeah. And so, again, community supports are key in this fight against DV and homelessness in our community.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I knew a story about a revert sister who had married a brother, but what the brother was offering wasn't a good deal. And that's why willies are important, to say, nope, this is not a great candidate. That's what willies are supposed to do. They're supposed to advocate for the sister. And there's just so many moments where the advocation has fallen short. And matter of fact, I would even argue that the person who's supposed to be willy is actually encouraging it. On the side of the brother. And it was a sister that saw the matter and stood up and said, what are you guys doing? This is not even, she's a child. Like you're saying, you're stipulating that she had to give up her rights of being provided for. Right? Because she was going to be, she was going to marry him, she was going to be a second wife, that she should get all of these ridiculous, forcing it, saying nobody else is going to have you. So this is your best option. Yeah. And subhanAllah, like, if it wasn't for the sister to say, this is not true, if it was, and she was an ustada, she came to her for advice, which brings me to the next part about having women in these spaces, right? Women also being counselors and advisors.
With a religious background
with
that can validate.
Yes. And there needs to be a balance though, right? Because right now it just seems that there's only men that women go to, but why isn't there women that women go to?
Yeah.
Why isn't that more? Why isn't it why don't they have offices at masjid? Just so they give offices for the brothers, right? Why won't they balance it with the sisters? Knowing women's issues. Right? Why isn't that an option? It's just, it really blows my mind, given the fact of how persistent this issue is in our community.
And, we talk about the importance, and Islam is so big on children, right? And so if we talk about protective factors, if we're not going to protect these women, then ultimately we're affecting a generation that, we know that kids who have witnessed violence and gone through violence themselves
are twice as likely to experience mental health issues and suicide.
Ideation, and also, problems in school and things like that. So
just from witnessing abuse, right? Just
witnessing.
Witnessing it, not experiencing.
I'm wondering, like, when we're talking about protecting our ummah and our children, this is part of the package. Protect those children, but protecting their moms and giving them those spaces to thrive and to integrate back into society properly so these children can have another chance.
Absolutely.
I work with so many survivors of domestic violence and thrivers of domestic violence. And the children suffer a lot.
They do. And I think one powerful thing I think I witnessed in my own journey is when I started to focus on my own healing, because I had to start from scratch, right? And I was like, okay, I can't do me and the kids and everything else. Let me just literally start from myself. And then when the time is right and I'm in a better headspace, I can work on my children's healing. Yeah. And so when I started to do that and I was on my own path of healing and processing all of these experiences and kind of, doing my own inner work, I realized that in itself was such a powerful way to heal my kids.
And I'm going to add to that because part of the biggest work I do, I work with women. Why? Because when I work with women, especially with younger children, and they always say, my child has witnessed this, help them, Rina, help them. And I say, you know what, I'm going to work on you. Yes. Let's work on you. When I help regulate that woman and bring her back, her child starts to come back.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable the influence a woman's healing, a mother's healing can have on that child.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, I mean, I attest to that because I've noticed a complete metamorphosis of our entire home environment and my children and their mindsets and mashallah, the way they're exceeding and thinking, also dreaming big for themselves and having that vision. And I realized that it started from my healing. Yeah. And because there was a while where I was like, but what do I do with the kids? What do I do for them? What do I do for them? But I'm looking back now and I'm so grateful that I had started for myself first. And that in itself just radiated to their life and the home environment and creating that safe space for them where they can finally thrive as well and believe in themselves and just all of us just having a healthy form of communication and developing new routines and rituals that can pave the path for their healing as well. And now, I see, like, we actually talk about this sometimes, where we're like, someone's feeling down in the family, we're all like kind of advocating, like, you're so great, you're doing awesome, this is so good, it's okay if you're feeling like this, we're here for you. And I was like, wow, 5 years ago, this was non-existent in our home. And so alhamdulillah, like even as I was coming here, my son came to the door and actually kind of walked me to the door and he gave me such a huge hug. He's like, you're going to do so great. This is so awesome. And he's like, good luck. And this is going to be an awesome day for you, mama. And I was like,
That's so beautiful. And that's how we change the narrative.
Yeah.
Right? Your
absolutely.
son came. When my boys were younger, I remember Yasmin and I, we used to travel we were called into this masjid in this place and go rescue this person and go. And so my kids used to think we were like vigilantes, right? Because where are you going, mama? I'm going to work. They didn't know where I work, the address, location, we just did. And so they would always wonder, like, she leaves at 11 p.m., she comes back at 2 a.m. Like, what does she do, right? Like,
is she Batman?
And as they grew older, we have those conversations, right? So part of change too is having these conversations with our children, with our boys.
Yeah, huge.
And so they know their mom is a domestic violence mental health advocate.
Yeah,
and they're proud of it.
Yeah,
and they volunteer in this.
They raise money and they sell things at school to raise money. It's the cutest thing ever.
Amazing.
But also with our girls, our girls. You talked about this, Sobia. We teach our girls, we teach our boys to be so confident and to be so strong, and you can do anything. And then we teach our girls, no, you have to focus on being married. You have to focus on, don't be too smart, don't be too outspoken, don't be too this, don't be too that. So then when they're in an abusive relationship, they think this is all I'm good for. Like if I leave, I won't. That's it. that's the end of my life, right? So talking to our girls about it, that what's okay, what's not okay.
You're touching on that
important.
intergenerational trauma thing, right? We come to a point where we have to ask ourselves, whatever's been passed down, where does it stop? And then when I decide it needs to stop, right? What do I need to do to stop that? And so part of this is changing that narrative in our homes now as moms of my generation, your generation. What story or what narrative do we want them to have?
Yes.
Because people wonder, does intergenerational trauma with DV actually exist? Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, it does.
You'll find it.
Yes,
but it came to a
does.
point with you too, Sophia, and with you, Batul, where you said no. Like, I stop it here.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this, Batul, right? Your girls coming and telling you that.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah. And even my son, the way he is more sensitive, he's more in touch with his emotions, the way he shows care. I'm so proud of him to change this way. And there was a point not very long ago where he was completely, at the other side of the whole thing, he was broken and he was angry, and he thought that this is not fair, and there was no hope basically. And now, within you can say 2 years, it has completely changed. And as she said, it started with me changing, me healing, me showing that I'm strong. And there is something that my daughter used to say, that don't feel sad about what happened, because I would say that, oh, I wish you didn't have to go through this. I wish you didn't. I wish I was strong enough earlier. I didn't want you guys to see all that. And she said, if you want us to heal, you show us that all this happened, but you changed, but you stood up for yourself, and show us a good end to it. And alhamdulillah, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He let me show them a better end to whatever happened. And this, whatever I went through, basically made who I am today.
Yeah.
And
I was just
speak
gonna
on
say
it.
that. Finish that thought. That's beautiful.
I don't regret anything, and I don't feel sad. I don't feel like a victim anymore, because it made me stronger. And
it made your kids stronger too.
Exactly, and they're better people. If I went through this for 33 years in confusion, in feeling that I'm not giving enough, I'm too sensitive, I'm too emotional, I'm too this, I'm too that. It wasn't me all along. And when the minute I saw that, it changed everything for me. And then, people had to tell me that, oh, you're okay, you're good, you're doing your best for me to feel better. I have the minute I found that I am enough, I got in touch with myself, and it completely changed the whole thing. It was a game changer for me. So, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
We're teaching our daughters to be empowered and to see themselves as confident and active.
And valued. And valued so much more and worth so much more.
Because we are. Because the reality is so bizarre to me that women think otherwise. It's kind of bizarre. We give life. You know what I'm saying? We are maternal creatures. We're teachers. My God, where would they be without women? And it's not a shocker that the Prophet's last sermon was about women.
Yes.
And I think it says something too about the knowledge he had about women's issues. That he knew this was going to be a persisting issue. That he needed the men and the women to listen. Remember this. It's like the last thing your mom tells you is the first thing you remember. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. And she tells you that because she knows you'll forget it. Perhaps the Prophet knew this is something that we would struggle with. And this is the way that we were going to find Allah's glory and mercy, is that when we took care of our women. You know what I'm saying? That's when we would find that mercy. But last questions. How do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala played a role in this? Like, how did you come to understand your hardship? How did you even come to understand becoming a director? Becoming a mental health lead? What do you think Allah is doing here? And how do you think you played your role in that journey of healing?
I think for me at least, I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts people in the places that He wants them to be. I didn't even apply for a single job at Nisa Homes. I didn't apply. I never applied. SubhanAllah. I got in. I started volunteering with National Zakat Foundation, which is the parent organization, and I remember them telling me, "Oh, we're doing Nisa Homes. Do you want to join?" And I was just like, "No. I want to join. I want to start working in like the mainstream. I don't want to be in the Muslim social services, You guys are still not like where I want to be." And I remember being told, just try it. And subhanAllah, like, one thing led to another. And I think back to it, I'm like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally put me in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And, I am where I am today, and I'm doing what I'm doing today, not because of what I chose, not because of what I did, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that, I will be in the right place and be able to do what I can. And be passionate and give 110% to this. And Rena can attest this. We Nisa Homes is not a 9-to-5 job. Anyone that works with us,
I can imagine.
And like she said, 11 p.m. We're still all okay. I'm coming. Hang on, and
And how many times do we talk about, okay, we're done now. This is it. This is the final year. Like we're finished, right? And then, as she said, Allah puts you there. Like you think that I worked hard to get this. No, I didn't. He puts you there, and I feel like I'm ready to walk, right? Sometimes because I'm so tired, but He's not wanting me to walk yet. He's not ready for me because I'm not done what He wants me to do. And similarly, I started off as a volunteer as well. And I always tell people, like you guys say, why did we go through this? And we all have a story. I'm in this position because of my personal story. But my life, I went through things in my life that brought me to become a psychotherapist, or brought me to Nisa Homes, right? We all have a story. And I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's role in this is to let you live through that story and give back and heal. And for me, it's helping people heal, right? And so none of this is without Allah. And when He's done with me here, He'll be done with me in another.
And He'll replace you.
Even this project, I want to say, Nisa Homes started off, for our first 5 years, we were entirely donation based. Every Ramadan, we would be out there fundraising and, terrified that there are times where we're like, we might have to close down one of our homes because we simply don't have enough money. And then at the day after, someone would call us, here you go, here's a check to pay off, the fees for the whole year. And this is like, it cannot be more than this when you say it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one that has made this program available because it's for our community, right? And it's from Him, and it's for His sake.
Yeah, subhanAllah. And Allah takes care of it.
So for me, it's very interesting that when I was really frustrated and I had this conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, oh Allah, I suffered through all this for years and years in Your name. I thought I was doing the right thing. And I believe that person is close to you. That person, I saw that person praying, reading Quran, talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, giving lectures to people. And I thought I was doing the right thing in Your name. So help me out. So when I recognized Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I got to know Him more, started talking to Him more, He guided me. He guided me through it, and He let me see His side of mercy, His side of the merciful, the kind side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the true side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the angry God, not the God who is there to punish women for doing this or not doing that, but Allah who has created me, who loves me, and who will take care of me. So I got connected to Allah directly, not through somebody who's telling me to do this or to do that. So it's that made a huge difference for how I saw things and how I felt.
Yeah, I definitely feel like my life turned around when I finally got an opportunity to make a direct connection with Allah, as opposed to filtered through a person, right? Because I was always told that you do whatever I say, and then Allah will be happy, right? But it was always like, do this for me, and then you'll gain rewards. And so, I think that in my rock bottom moment was probably the most powerful moment for me, because I finally was like, I am never going to let any other woman go through this again, I'm going to speak about this one day when I'm in a better place. And it's going to start here now. And I don't know how this is going to happen. And I'm so broken right now. But I trust so strongly that Allah will facilitate this. And so I look back now, and through all the stumbles and falls and getting up again and falling again and that whole messy journey has brought me to just even sitting here right now, alhamdulillah, and like Yasmin said, like there's certain things that I didn't even have to go apply for or do. It literally came in my lap, like subhanAllah, like Allah just gave it to me, the opportunity to go back to school, post-grad program without a high school diploma.
Wow.
So no undergrad, because I had an interview with the professor and I'm like, look, I'm really interested in this marketing management program, but I have nothing to show you. Yeah. I have no high school diploma. I have no 4-year undergrad, but I really need to do this program. And I have 10 years of experience from business. So he said, okay, give me, a detailed resume and show me what you've done and let's talk about it. And when I showed him, he's like, Sobia, I think you're overqualified for this program. I was like, no, like, just get me in there. This has been like a 25-year stall in my life.
SubhanAllah.
I need to go back to school. I am so passionate about this. And I know that with this, and it's maybe the way the world is made, that, having that education and that certification can take you so much farther. And so, alhamdulillah, I was able to go to school. And while I was in school, it was so hard because it was a very intensive full-time program that I was in the point of breaking. I was like, this is so hard. How do I maintain the home? I'm earning absolutely nothing. I've got 3 kids to feed, but I really need to finish this education. Ya Allah, like just please make this education worth it. Yeah. Like, please provide me with something where I can give back with these marketing skills and help the world to be a better place in some way or form. I don't know how, but just please let this not go in vain. Mm-hmm. And I literally cried and went to sleep with tears in my eyes. And I woke up and I got a text from the CEO saying, hey, random question, but what are you up to these days? Would you like to join our marketing team?
Wow.
And I was like,
are you serious?
Yes. And I start crying and crying.
That is so incredible.
I had to gather myself. Allah. And I'm like, do you know I just cried
the last night?
Literally just less than 12 hours away. And open my eyes to this, like, subhanAllah, like that was just like, oh my God. What is it called? Expedited service and du'as.
Allah SWT accepted your dua.
And to that point though, is that never underestimate the power of dua. I honestly, I can attest speak on it that is all that really helped me throughout this whole journey, because there were such experiences that I would have never had anticipated come in my path, but Allah brought it together one at a time. And I'm not a special person. This is for anyone and everyone. And I've spoken to other sisters who've had experiences like that, where Allah just brought it in their path. And so always have that hope and that trust and that expectation of Allah that He's providing and He's there for you.
And He's listening.
He's listening and He's doing the best for you. Even in the difficult times, these are the moments that are elevating you when you turn to Him.
Yeah.
And so keep making those du'as, keep believing in the best for yourself, and and keep striving. And it's okay to pause at times when you need to. Mm-hmm. But keep that pace up and believe that there's something so great for you ahead.
Absolutely.
And inshallah, it's going to be awesome.
And that's the beautiful part about it. The affairs of a believer is always good.
Yeah.
There isn't a bad situation, because
No.
if you make dua and Allah doesn't give it to you, He's delaying it for a good reason.
Yeah.
And if He's not giving it to you, He's replacing it.
Yeah.
And if you're making dua, He's accepting it and you're seeing it at the same moment.
Yeah.
So no matter what, your affairs are always good.
Absolutely.
You know, and subhanAllah, and it brings like I always say, I think people really underestimate dua, like to its very core. Yeah. And it's people literally call it the weapon of a believer.
Yeah.
Because you can make it at any moment, at any second.
Yeah.
And it's literally there for you. You can make it at the gas station, anywhere.
Yeah.
And Allah is always listening.
Always.
And it's truly remarkable. And, you know, the month of Ramadan is also the month of Quran. It's a month of dua. And like, I really want my listeners to really understand how important it is for them to be making dua, a lot of dua at every second of every minute. If everybody's not making dua every second, I don't know what to tell you. Dua in sajda, dua standing, dua sitting, you know what I'm saying? Just really taking advantage of this month. I wanted to ask, for my listeners that are listening right now, or the ones that are listening right now, who might be experiencing domestic violence and feel like there's no way out, what would you say to them?
To have self-compassion in the moment. I know that there's a lot of shame that you might be experiencing from what people have told you, from what you have been taught. I would say that it was not your fault, and that what you experienced was real and is real, and that there's no shame to your experience, and that, you know, it's okay to step away from this, you know, and you are not defined by it. And no matter what other people say or, you know, are pressuring you to do, you know in your heart of what the next steps could be for you, and know that there is hope afterwards. Yes, it may be tough. It's not going to be easy. I unfortunately can't promise you that. But the steps as you grow and learn, and that journey that you embark on, is going to be a really beautiful one, inshallah, over time. And what you need to have now at this time is self-compassion, self-love, and really fill your cup now with words of positivity, and replace the things that you have and might have heard in your past by other people, of your worthlessness, of who they think you are. You know who you are, and start that journey to really uncover and unveil that for yourself. You know, and also to practice forgiveness, self-forgiveness, like forgiveness to yourself. And I think that's what I mean by self-compassion, is how can we forgive ourselves and understand that this was not my fault, and it's okay where I'm at, and that I can make a decision from here now. I'm not stuck in this situation. So, you know, one quote has stayed with me since I was a teenager, and has sort of evolved in different forms of meanings as it's grown with me, is a quote by Maya Angelou that says, "When you know better, you do better." And so at that time, this is what you knew, and it's okay. But as you're growing and evolving, you will know better. And from those new tools, you can do better. And grow into this and flourish into this beautiful soul that you already are, you know? And, you know, I think a lot of times, you know, it's the shame that keeps us back. I can truly say it was the shame that kept me in this situation for 20 years. I was ashamed of even uttering it or asking for help. But once we remove that shame and realize that it was not your fault, and that it was real what you experienced, I see you, I hear you, then suddenly this burden is lifted off your shoulders, and you can see the the many possibilities that you have now. So believe in yourself and take those steps if that's what you need in terms of getting help and going through the healing process. And I promise you, it's a beautiful ending for you.
Yes, if you feel that you're abused, you're violated, you know better. Don't let anyone say that you're too emotional or you're too sensitive or you're too weak. If you know that you know your emotions best. If you're not happy, you don't have to pretend to be happy. You just have to recognize it, and you have to prepare yourself to take the next steps. And when it's time, when you're ready, you will know what to do. Mm-hmm. This is what I was told by my friend. She's a therapist. I wish I had spent more time with her, but she said that you will know when you're ready. And at that time, it felt like something impossible. Like I would have an anxiety attack, like just by thinking about what are my options? What do I do? How can I leave? This is my home. This is my family. This is my life. I was okay to be with, to live like that, and to, as she said, I had accepted it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want us to suffer. This is on you. When you recognize it, it's on you. You have to take charge of yourself. You don't say that this happened to me. You have to be responsible for what you do. Mm-hmm. So that's for me. I would like to say, just recognize it and be okay with your feelings. Mm-hmm. Be okay with your with yourself, and be honest.
Absolutely.
I guess for me, what I'll say to somebody that's going through it right now, as you hear these wonderful souls here talk about, the things that they're talking about, you may think, but that's not me. I can't see myself there. I'm not able to. I'm not that strong. I'm not that powerful. I want you to know that narrative is there because of where you are right now. Okay, and as Sobia and Batul constantly talk about that journey of healing, is that it's possible to speak like these two ladies here once you start that journey of healing. Mm-hmm. Right? So my piece of advice would be to talk to one person that you trust. If you're stuck right now, you don't know where to go, but you know that you're in that situation, talk to one person that you trust and ask them to help you. As I said earlier, there are safe ways to do it. And if you reach out to organizations like ours, we safely get your children and you out of there. So speak to one person. Mm-hmm. That's it.
After listening to all the wonderful things that you ladies had to say about, this topic, we can all agree how important this work is. The importance of Nisa Home is, how important it is, for all of us to support in it. So my next natural question is, how can us as a community, even my listeners, how can we support Nisa Homes?
So many ways, my goodness. One of the biggest and most important is that dua we talk about, right? Continue to make dua, continue to talk about this topic, continue to challenge your narratives. What do I believe true that I can challenge? Continue to educate yourself around it. Nisa Homes, in terms of if you want to, provide tangible support, you can be volunteers with us. We have campaigns right now for Ramadan. We have a home opening in Hamilton. We always, me and Yasmin talk about this, oh my goodness, wow, we have a home open in Hamilton, and we are asked what is the next goal, and it's a sad goal.
Yeah.
Right? It's so sad to say, we have 8 homes across Canada. It's not a proud goal that we have to have 8 homes, but the reality is that the problem continues, it grows, and the more we talk about it, the more awareness there is, the more the need there is to support the cause. And so long after me and Yasmin are gone, this will continue. So look into our, our Facebook and our Instagram page. They are donation links to support us financially with as little as you can, connecting Nisa Homes to donors that that can provide as well. And yeah, there's fundraising events coming up as well. We have a few in every city where you can buy a ticket, bring your families and your friends and learn about this cause, become part of it. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find Nisa Homes on Instagram at Nisa Homes. You can find all of this information on their website at www.nisahomes.com. We'll have it, inshallah, in the notes. But definitely, this is a month also of, donation, giving. If you can give wherever you can. And I know I have a lot of international listeners that might be interested in donating because this is really important. And after listening to you ladies, I'm so touched and inspired, genuinely, of just your strength, genuine strength. Sometimes I doubt my own, but when I see women doing that all the time, every day, it just tells me, girl, you could do it too. You'll be fine. And it's just, I just want to tell you guys, you guys are literal, you guys are superheroes. And superheroes might not have a 9 to 5 because they always seem like they're working odd hours, but they're doing something great, and your choice, the choice that you made to get out was so powerful that it's going to affect many women after, and you made a huge step for all of us. And so we can make the same steps too. And your daughters and your kids can make the steps forward and telling your stories. Now we're all thinking about taking those steps forward if we're in those difficult situations. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for coming and talking about this and being vulnerable, being open. And I know it wasn't an easy topic to talk about, to kind of open difficult wounds. But I hope all of this doesn't go in vain. And I hope that if one listener is listening right now who's experiencing this, they might be inspired what you had to say.
They should know that Sobia and I, we come from a very, very low space. And then we are sitting here today just because we want you to know that you will be okay.
Yeah.
That's my message. You'll be okay. You'll be all right.
You're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. Yeah. And if you're listening, just take a deep breath and say Bismillah, make dua, talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seek His counsel first, ask for His aid. And when it's time and it's right for you, make the step forward. But yeah, thank you so much, sisters. Jazakallah khair. Truly, barakallah feek for coming. I'm just no words, but I'm so thankful that you guys came and you talked about this with me because I couldn't have done this without you guys. So jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair for having us here. Yes. It's been an honor and a gift.
This episode is brought to you by Beautiful Light Studios. Recorded at MH Studios Toronto. I'd love to give a shout out to our executive producer, Mona Scekomar. Thank you for the episode. Our recording engineer, Jonathan Lillo. Our podcast intern, Nima Harun. Our graphic designer, SIMA, a.k.a. Wasima Farah. Our project manager, Yasmin Mohamud. And our marketing extraordinaire, Sawsan Abdulahi. If this podcast gave you value, we're leaving it up to you. Donate however much you feel like it gave to you. We have a big team this year who put so many hours into bringing the show to life. If you can't give right now, don't worry. Please keep us in your drafts. All right, y'all. That's it for me. I will see you guys, hopefully, this Friday, in your ears, in your speakers, telling you what? A good story.